Hey everyone, sorry I'm a few minutes late. Tonight I'll be doing a review of the Disney Princess 2017 half marathon weekend. Apologies for that. I literally just got home from the day job and from the gym, so the hair wasn't looking that great, so I left my winter hat on because it's cold outside. Just before we get started, what I'm going to do is just talk about in general how you decide if you want to do a Run Disney event, how I thought the Princess Half Marathon weekend went, and also kind of give you an overview of if you decide to do a Run Disney race, how would you go about planning your trip and figuring how you want to enjoy your race weekend while you're there. So first of all, how do you decide whether or not you want to do a Run Disney race or if a Run Disney race is good for you? Basically, you decide, hey, am I ready to run? The nice thing about the Run Disney events is they always have different distances you can choose from. You can do a 5K, you can do a 10K, you can do a half. In January, it's the only time where they offer the full marathon. So if you want to make that a goal, I mean, that's great. They offer amazing, sorry about that. They offer amazing training plans on the website. So you're able to download them. They give you a nice calendar, and it'll work you through about 5 to 6 months out from your race on how to build yourself up to be able to run those distances, whichever distance you pick. So it's kind of nice to have those available on the Run Disney website. You can actually get more information about the races. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat, but they have more information about Run Disney races on the Run Disney site. But you can also join a lot of Facebook groups that are really helpful. One that I found really helpful was the Run Disney Run Facebook group. You can basically post any question you have about a race, and a whole bunch of people will answer you. You could post any pictures you're thinking about of what you want to wear to the race, and people will comment. You can post about which hotels, recommend, get suggestions on which hotels you want to stay at. And people are very great at getting back to you and providing you feedback. They also have a really nice marketplace area. It's the Run Disney Run Marketplace group on Facebook, and there you can get costume ideas, you can purchase shoes, people sell different things that they've made, skirts for running the Princess Marathon races, even some of the shoes from New Balance. New Balance every year comes up with designs based on Disney, and they sell those shoes at the stores, but then afterwards sometimes people buy extra and will sell them on the marketplace online. So that website is really helpful, and so is their marketplace site if you're thinking about races or want to get more information. Once you decide what race you want to do, the next step is registering for that race. So the registration dates vary throughout the year. They're usually a few months out from each race, about 6 months out from the races. So you just have to go on the Run Disney site, look over the registration dates. So right now, the one that is supposed to be opening up soon is the Star Wars Lightside race. That one takes place in Disneyland, California. So they have about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's about 10 race events every year. Half are at Disneyland, half are at Disney World, approximately, and one is at Disneyland Paris. So if you wanted to take that trip to Paris, maybe you can use the race at Paris, in Paris, as your excuse to get out there. Hopefully next year I'm going to do my first one at Disneyland. I'm trying to plan it out with the family because I want to get a coast-to-coast medal, which is nice. So if you do a race at Disneyland and another race at Disney World, you get an extra medal once you complete the second one at whichever location, called the coast-to-coast medal. Also, if you complete multiple races in a weekend, you get an extra medal. So during January, during the full marathon weekend, if you do all 4 races, which a lot of people actually do, you'd be surprised, which is the 5K, the 10K, the half, and the full, you get an extra medal called the Dopey Challenge medal. And I believe there's also a Goofy Challenge, which I believe is it's either the half and the full or the 10K and the half. I've got to look it up. If you're just starting and don't want to do a big race and actually, plan travel and head down to Orlando or out to California or even Paris, what you can do is the virtual running shorts that are available during the summer months. There's more information on the runDisney site. Basically with those, you just run around your neighborhood or in a park or on your own or with your friends, and you just submit your times to Disney and they will send you a medal for every 5K that you complete. You can do one a month in the summer, and then if you do each one every month, you'll get an extra medal at the end. So you'll end up getting 4 completing the virtual shorts. So once you decide which race you want to do, just be vigilant about when the registrations are. Some races do sell out sooner than others. I would say in the last year or so, they haven't really sold out the first day. Ones that sell out the quickest are the shorter distances, like the 5K and the kids dashes. Your kids can participate. There's a 1-mile race most of the time for kids at each event weekend. There's also kids dashes for the younger ones, 100 meter, 200 meter, and 400 meter. And then even if they're still in diapers, they can do the diaper dash, which is very adorable. They basically just crawl 10 feet and get a medal and a nice cute little shirt that says I did it. So keep those in mind. You can get the whole family involved, or you can just run the race yourself, or maybe make a girls' weekend. I did that last year for my first Princess Half, and it was really helpful and it really worked out. And it was a lot of fun. This year I went with the family. Think about how you want to travel. Do you want to bring people with you? Go on your own? You got to remember that you have to be up extremely early for each race. You have to be on the shuttle before 4 a.m. every morning to get to the start line for each race. So just consider that when you're planning on how many family members are coming with you, or how many people you're going with. And also, if you're going to be going to and from the theme parks, how late you want to be staying out the night before your race. So registration opens up. Again, you can register. The races run, depending on distance, anywhere between $50 and up to $300. If you're doing a challenge, which is multiple races in a weekend, it can be about $300 to $350 depending on the weekend. So once you've registered, the next step is planning your trip. Do you want to stay on property or off property? I'm always going to recommend staying on property because you don't have to worry about transportation to and from the start lines at each of the races. You'll be able to use the free transportation on Disney, or that Disney provides at the resorts, to get to the expo to pick up your badges and your shirts pre-race, and then on race mornings you'll be able to get the free shuttles from each of the resorts. All of the resorts have the shuttles to the races, to the start line, and then obviously back to your room afterwards. Some of the resorts, for example, the deluxe resorts around Lake Buena Vista by Magic Kingdom, you're able to take the monorail to the start line. Most of the start lines are at Epcot. Not every race course is the same. For example, this year's Princess was very similar to last year's, where you start in Epcot, run through Magic Kingdom, and then end at Epcot again. But the Star Wars Dark Side last year, it was the inaugural year of that race. We started at Epcot, went through MGM and Animal Kingdom, and ended at ESPN Wide World of Sports. So you may not always start at the same place you end. So you also have to consider that if you're staying off property, so you can determine where to park post-race so you can get back to your car and back to where you need to go. So race weekend arrives, you've planned your trip. Let's say you've decided to stay on property. The first thing you need to do is head to the expo when it opens. Keep in mind, the lines will be long. As with all things Disney, there are lines, and the lines are usually long. For the most part, they move fairly quickly. You're able to get your race bibs and your t-shirts. You always get a t-shirt for whichever race you're competing or completing. Fairly quickly. Those lines I've never had a problem getting to. It's the actual expo where the vendors are, where they're selling the Dooney bags, the New Balance shoes, all the gear for racing, and also that's where they have the souvenir area for the race for every weekend. So every race has its own themed merchandise. Unfortunately, Disney opens the expo section to the public. That's the one thing I wish they didn't do. I wish at least maybe the first couple days they would only be available to the runners, so that you wouldn't have so many people trying to get in there and items getting sold out. Everyone freaks out about items being sold out. Just keep in mind that they do try to hold back items. So if something is sold out on Thursday, you can try to go back on Friday. They'll probably have it if you go early. Again, if you end up getting there on a Friday, going to the expo and not finding the one item that you wanted, try going to the expo again on Saturday, because they'll most likely restock that item. A lot of times you will find the items online afterwards, but they're usually marked up. So, always have a backup plan. If you don't get the first thing you wanted, try to get the next thing that you thought you might want for the race. Or, most of the shirts that they give you for free not for free, but for registering for the race are pretty nice. So don't feel too bad if you missed out on the other t-shirts, especially the ones that say "I did it" on the back. Those tend to go quickly. So the expo, again, head there as early as you can in your trip. If you have a race on a Saturday, most of the half marathons are on a Sunday. I would recommend arriving on a Friday so that you could take Saturday kind of as a relaxed day before the race. And also to give yourself time to get to the expo, especially if you arrive late on Friday, you want to give yourself time on Saturday. If you're doing multiple races, try to get there the earliest day possible, which would probably be the Thursday before all the races, so that you can get to the expo, get all your bibs, everything you need for registration purposes, and then you'll be ready to go on Friday morning for the 5K, and then Saturday for the 10K, and then the half on Sunday. They also have kids races. Most of the kids races take place on Friday mornings and Saturday morning. So again, if you're running, try to coordinate when your child's race would be so that you can be there on time. If you're traveling with other family members, that might be a good opportunity for them to go to a race, or just try to plan it out. They have multiple times depending on the age of your child and when you would want them to run, so you can coordinate your schedules accordingly. I would recommend the night before any of your race not to stay out too late at the parks. You really need to rest up your feet for your race, especially if this is one of your first ever races competing. The resorts are great at Disney. If you're paying to stay on property, you might as well enjoy them. Enjoy the pools, enjoy the restaurants, enjoy a lot of the lounge areas that they have. There's plenty of activities at the resort that you can take advantage of so that you can relax the night before. There's even movies most nights on the lawns of a lot of the resorts. Just watch a movie, relax with your family, or relax with your friends if you happen to go with a group of friends, because you're going to be tired, you're going to be exhausted, and it's not even from running, it's just from the fact that you have to wake up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to be able to get on the bus on time and get to the start line on time. For the Princess race this year, I actually did all of them, all 3 races. I did the 5K, the 10K, and the half. Therefore, I completed the glass slipper challenge, which is the 10K and the half. So you end up getting 4 medals. I had never done a Disney 5K before. The 5K was interesting. There's a lot of people because the corrals are kind of separated differently. For every race, you're separated into corrals so that not everyone is starting at the same time, so that people aren't just trampling each other as they get out of the start line. So they try to keep things very organized. I will say the runDisney events are the most organized of any other race I've participated in over the last couple years. Everything starts on time. People are where they need to be. The volunteers are where they need to be. Everybody knows. If you have a question, there's always someone there to answer the question. You won't feel left out. You won't feel lost. Like, you'll be able to do things. But for the 5K, it was there was a lot of people, and it was kind of hard to get out of the start line in the beginning. But once you get out there, the race itself, race course, is pretty wide in most areas. There are some narrow areas when you're going into Epcot and some of the other theme parks during the races to be aware of. If you are a walker or you're walking at any point during the race, raise your hand before you move over to walk or before you start walking, because there's always somebody behind you who's running at full force and you don't want somebody bumping into you. The Disney races also have, apologies, I'm just like clearing my throat. The Disney races also have a lot of the characters out while on the course, so you can pause, take pictures with them. So just be mindful that if you want to stop and get to the side to take a picture with a character, to just put your right or left arm up to signal to the people behind you that you're slowing down or that you're going to be moving to the opposite side of the road that you're either walking or running on, so that they're aware of where they need to go to get around you. Also, if you're running with a group of friends, try not to walk parallel to each other or right next to each other. Do like 2 by 2, 2 in front, 2 in back if you're a group of 4, etc. Because you want to give space for the runners who are running faster than you or walking faster than you, the walkers, space to get around you. And that way you'll minimize anybody tripping or yourself being tripped by someone. I've seen it happen. I've seen a lot of people tumble either right at the finish line or right at the start line just because everyone's so bunched up together. So just be mindful of what you're doing, and then mindful, keep an eye out of what everyone else is doing, either in front of you, not in front of you especially, so you can kind of plan your path around people. The path also really gets narrow during the half when you go into Magic Kingdom and you actually run through the castle. So that's a pretty big bottleneck because there's always a lot of people taking pictures and stopping. So just be aware of your surroundings. And try to be as courteous as possible. I mean, you are at Disney. You don't want to be upset. It's the happiest place on earth. So try to keep a good attitude about things. The Disney race this year, or the Disney Princess Half Marathon, I always run it with a charity. Speaking of registration fees, if you're running any of the races, you can run via a charity. For example, for 2018, the Disney Princess Half Marathon registration is already open through Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and the registration fee for the challenge, which is the 10K and the half, is only $36. You do have a minimum fundraising requirement of $1,700 if you're going to be doing all 3 races. I believe it's $1,000 if you're only doing the half, but you have a year to raise that money. So you'll be running, to help benefit yourself and your health, but you'll also be running to benefit a great charity like Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Each of the races has its own charity sponsor, so you could try to consider those when registration is open, especially if you want to do a race that perhaps is already sold out. A lot of the charities will still have bibs available for you as long as you meet the minimum fundraising requirements. The past several years, like I said, I've run it with Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and I like doing that. I think I'm going to continue to do Princess because of Children's Miracle Network hospitals. The Saturday morning after the 10K, they always do a Miracle Makers breakfast. It's what they run. Miracle Makers is a name they give the runners that are running with them every year, and it's wonderful. They provide you a buffet breakfast, including Mickey-shaped waffles. And then they also have a lot of the Disney characters there. So you don't have to worry about at the park or during the race having to stop or get in a line to meet a picture or to get a picture with a character or an autograph with a character. So this year my daughter and my sisters were able to join me at the breakfast as well, even though they weren't running in the races. So it was really nice. We were able to get a lot of the character meet and greets out of the way, so you won't have to worry about them when we got to the parks. Let's see. As far as the races themselves, the 10K again, this year we went through Magic Kingdom, or I'm sorry, the 10K we went through Epcot. You went out about 1.5 miles, then you went back in and you went through Epcot, and you actually went a little bit around the boardwalk resort area too. So that was kind of nice because you were able to go all the way around the boardwalk and come back into Epcot. It kind of gave a nice feeling because there was a lot of spectators on the boardwalk. So the spectators always make silly signs and fun signs. So you kind of get a laugh here and there as you're running by people and they have silly signs up. There's also always people giving you high fives, and staff that work at Disney and guests that just happen to be staying at the resorts. I think when we passed the yacht club area in the boardwalk, there's people on the balconies just cheering you on. So it's a very fun environment to be in and a very fun environment to run in. And overall, like I said, everyone's in a pretty good mood, and everybody's going to cheer you on. If you're walking and having a hard time, somebody's going to be patting you on the back saying, you can do this, let's keep going. I've never had a bad experience with any other runner or anyone at Disney during race weekends. It's always been a really fun event. Also, a lot of people post-race will go to either Epcot or Magic Kingdom to get photos with their medals at the parks. A lot of people will go to Epcot just because you can get drinks there in every country. A lot of people do margaritas. A lot of people go to France and get mimosas or champagne. So wear the medal proudly after your race. Go out to a park, wear it. Also, if you're wearing your medal and you happen to be at Disney Springs, a lot of the restaurants there and stores during race weekends will provide discounts for runners. So you can either have your running bib or your medal with you, and you will get discounts at the restaurants there and also at the stores. So just keep that in mind if you don't want to go to a park but just want to hang out somewhere. Disney Springs is actually a really good spot to go to now, especially now that the construction is pretty much done, and they've done a great job putting everything together there. If anybody has any questions about Run Disney or the Disney Princess Half Marathon weekend at all, just comment here on the bottom of the video now or later, if you happen to watch this later in the evening. And the next race coming up, I didn't realize this, but I've actually signed up for every race in Orlando this year. We did the half or the marathon weekend. I signed up for the half, which ended up getting canceled because of weather. That does happen every once in a while. So if it does happen to you, Disney allowed everyone who had signed up for the half to either defer to a future race anytime in the next 2 years, get a gift card for the value of the registration, or I think that's it. Those were the two options. You can do either or. I know it doesn't really work for people who traveled from out of state and may not get the chance to go back to just get a gift card or defer, but they did try to do their best to accommodate everyone, and they are still in the process of mailing out medals, because they still provided the medals even though people didn't finish the race. So I was able to defer that race to the Wine and Dine in this fall, and I had already registered for Princess and for the Star Wars Dark Side, so I guess I'll be doing every race in Orlando this year. I'll try to post more photos as I get them to this Facebook group page, and then also to my regular Facebook page. And I guess, what was the one more thing? I had one more thing on my list that I wanted to say. Photo Pass. If you happen to be an annual pass holder or you have tickets during race weekend, for Photo Pass, all of the photography taken during the race, because they're strategically placed Disney photographers, are available via your Photo Pass account. So you're able to download all the pictures of you running immediately after the race. It's pretty nice. I used it this year. It's great. A lot of tips people give when you see, they have these little bright green, really bright green tents. So you're able to see where the photographers are going to be. Just try to find a pocket in between people when you get close to a photographer so that you can get a really good shot of yourself running. A lot of times if you don't notice them, you'll get pictures in your photo account of someone else, and it showed up in your account because you happen to be halfway behind someone and it's not really the best shot of you. But if you do see them, I would suggest either slowing down or speeding up so you can get kind of in front of people or behind someone in a gap. To be able to get a really good shot of yourself while you're there. Also, if you happen to be a Disney Vacation Club member or an annual pass holder, you are able to register for the races before the general public is able to register. So keep that in mind. Always look at the pass holder or vacation club areas of the Run Disney website to get the dates for when registration will be open. It's usually about 2 to 3 weeks before the general public is allowed to register. So if you're really thinking about this, just keep that in mind if you happen to be a vacation club or annual pass holder. I think that's it for Princess. Overall, I thought, again, it was a great event. Again, Children's Miracle Network was a great host. They provide tons of training support, tons of fundraising support. So if you're considering running with a charity, it's a great one to do it with. The next race up is Star Wars Dark Side. And I'm really excited about that because I'll be running the challenge that weekend as well. So I'll be posting some info about that coming up as well in the next few weeks. Also, if you want to check out other live videos or video reviews of some of the Disney resorts, Disney events that are happening at the parks this year, check out our agency's main Facebook page, The Magic's Yours. I think it's facebook.com/themagic's-yours. We post videos there every Friday night at 8 p.m. And on April 7th, we'll be doing another review of, in general, Run Disney events that are coming up this year and that have already happened in the last couple months. So if you have any questions then, feel free to log on. And I'll share the link from the main agency site to this page as well, so you guys have it. I will be online available for the next little while if anybody has questions, so please post them under this video and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks, and if you're considering a Run Disney event and if you need help planning any vacation around it or your resort stay around any of the Run Disney events, please let me know. As a little side note, usually Disney doesn't offer any discounts during those events. A lot of times, especially now, for example, there is 25% off rooms in the spring. But if you look during those race weekends, there's no 25% off rooms available because they know everyone needs a room that weekend. So just keep that in mind if you're planning a stay during a race weekend, that some of the discounts won't be available. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And thank you for listening, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.